shower or indoor bathroom, that is something that maybe you can tell us about a little bit. How do you define what is the right to housing?
Sure.
In terms of dignity.
Sure. So I think we'll get to some of that. We'll get to some of that in some of the slides that are coming up. Was there another question?
What's the meaning of Social Security in context
with this article? Security against various sorts of risk, right? Whether due to medical issues or loss of livelihood, and societally provided security, right? So that's kind of roughly, and there are probably other folks here who could spell this out in more detail, but that's my understanding of Social Security in the context of Article 22. Yep. Okay. So I think one of the so the questions about dignity have actually kind of brought something up, which is it can be kind of a little bit of a confusing topic, and for that reason, there are some sort of other slogans that we use in the campaign that may be more helpful in kind of conveying in a nutshell what the campaign is about, right? So one of them is human needs are human rights, right? Basic human needs are human rights issues. Whether it's housing or health or a healthy environment, these are things that when you're from the point of view of the sort of traditional CPR-oriented human rights world, it's a little bit surprising, right, to say that those things are human rights, but they are. What ties them together? Well, they're basic human needs. So one slogan that we use in the campaign is human needs are human rights. But what's the campaign about? It works to advance economic, social, and cultural rights. And another thing that it does is holds corporations accountable for human rights abuses. It's hard to work on economic and social issues and limit yourself to governments. Corporations are such powerful players that they sort of inevitably come in. So a little more specifically, what does the campaign work on? Because economic, social, and cultural rights, really big area, right? So we focused on three things. The connection, again, when I was setting up the sort of context for going full spectrum, I mentioned the intensification of poverty and looking at the human rights violations that hit people living in poverty particularly hard is one of our priorities, right? So people living in poverty are at greater risk of having their water and food polluted by oil corporations, being forced from their homes without due process or without adequate alternatives, being denied access to essential health care to ensure safe births and sexual and reproductive well-being. So again, these are basic human needs and they're human rights issues. So these are the sort of three things that we work on. And again, human rights, not corporate wrongs. So we work against oil, gas, and mining company abuses of the right to a healthy environment. We work for the right to housing and related rights, like the right to water and sanitation. And we work for the right to health, especially maternal health and sexual and reproductive rights. Okay, let me pause there before I jump in a little more detail into the right to housing. Any questions about anything we've just run through? No? Okay. So the main thing that we focus on within the right to housing is ending forced evictions. In a nutshell, that is people being illegally and arbitrarily thrown out of their homes. And it turns out, the next video that we're going to show you is like what a forced eviction actually looks like. But it turns out that this is the kind of human rights abuse that is susceptible to bread and butter amnesty tactics, right? Shining a light through documentation and through kind of basic letter writing, shining a light on this practice. It turns out mayors, development officers, that kind of thing, they'll actually stop if we're able to document it and get people to pay attention to it. So just over the last year or so, we've prevented forced evictions in Ghana, Nigeria, Cambodia, Italy, and this is happening around the world all the time, and we're taking action on it pretty regularly. So the key case, going back to the Global Write-a-thon, there is a forced evictions case in the Global Write-a-thon, right? So Port Harcourt is a town in Nigeria in the sort of the Niger Delta, which is in the south of the country, and there are more than 200,000 people at risk of forced evictions due to some plans to develop the waterfront area in Port Harcourt. So this is an issue that's been going on for a couple of years. There was a rash of forced evictions in 2009. The video that we're about to show you is from that period. This report was about those 2009 evictions. But the action that we're taking this year is to prevent some future evictions that are currently being threatened. So, shall we watch this?
They came 7:30. They came with their bulldozers and they came with their soldiers. Look at it.
I don't want to leave you.
Come on, stand there, look at it. It's okay.
You let it buffer.
Which way? This way. This way. Front way. Go front. Forward. Step side. That side. Then go this side. Go this other side. You cannot come this side. Come this way. Come this way. This way. I'm going to show you how they demolish, how they destroy the place. They have not paid for this place.
They have not paid. Yeah, they have not paid.
Come, all these places, they have not paid. Gradually, look at the building.
Government agents sent government agents to remove all these things
Remove all these things and their best.
so that the people living will run. See the man, see our house there. He was right inside the house. The agents, the government agents came and started to look into the house, urging her to quit from the house.
People, the soldiers and the police are arresting people, the women and the children. They're up there.
I don't get money. And I'm there like this. Oh, sorry for myself. Sorry for myself. See me. Oh.
Look in face, look the mirror, look that thing. No, but no, all the thing, but